All right, good morning, everyone. We will get started. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Steph O'Connor. I work in the Department of Housing on the homeownership team. Um, and if you guys want to drop in the chat your names, your organization, that'd be lovely if you'd like. Also, just a heads up to everyone that this is going to be recorded. So if you don't want to have your camera on for that, just a notification. We do post it after so that anyone who is not able to attend today can watch the pre-bid conference as well. I will monitor the chat throughout, but if there is anything urgent, feel free to come off mute or if something comes up as a question. Otherwise, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. I doubt that this will take our full hour, but good morning. So this is what we're going to go through today. Introductions. I've done that a little bit. Hopefully you guys will drop in the chat where you are from. A little bit of background on the program, overall on community wealth building, both the plan that has kind of brought us here and how we're supporting it, and then the RFP details. So there'll be plenty of time for questions. Any questions that I don't answer today that you come up with afterwards, you can email me and I'll also post those. So overall, the Department of Housing's mission, vision, and values are on the screen. If you have ever come to a Department of Housing presentation, you've seen this already, but we are committed to being equitable, collaborative, dedicated, and resourceful in our programming. And one of the ways that we have stepped into this work is through supporting shared equity models of homeownership. If you're here today, you probably know about what those models are, but I will talk through a little bit about the way we see them and the way that we are supporting these models through this RFP and the second version of this program, because this is the second investment of funds in the program. Overall, community wealth building is an approach to economic development that promotes the local, democratic, and shared ownership and control of community assets. One of the things that this work started with was quite a while ago with the Office of Equity and Racial Justice here in the mayor's office. This is something that the Department of Housing has since continued since that time. I know some of your organizations were recipients of community wealth building grants, and this work at the Department of Housing builds on that to continue supporting this ecosystem, specifically around housing. Here is a little bit of kind of an overview, just a very, very brief snapshot of like different types of community wealth building models, both worker cooperatives, limited equity housing cooperatives, community land trusts, and community investment vehicles. This program supports the two middle ones, so homeownership through limited equity housing cooperatives and land stewardship through community land trusts. The program was piloted last year, and this is the second iteration of that program. So these models of homeownership, very broadly, very briefly, work to kind of expand homeownership through different models that many of you are probably familiar with, but not everyone in the community is. These are really good ways for affordable homeownership, affordable homeownership in perpetuity. The different neighborhood models may work better for certain places. So this investment in homeownership takes that into account and tries to be as flexible as possible in supporting different types of community-owned real estate or housing in ways that are more responsive to the individual community and the needs. So this RFP is $5 million using Housing and Economic Development, or HED bond proceeds that are allocated for supporting these models. I'm going to go very briefly because all of the details of this RFP are like all written out, but I want to give time and space to both give an overview, but also questions if there's things that were unclear to you as you read the RFP. So very broadly, there are two tracks to this program. One, to support purchase price or assistance or down payment assistance. We sort of use these terms in a different like interchangeably, but they mean the same thing essentially here. And then the second, which is acquisition support. So track one is our way of supporting homeownership by reducing the cost of purchasing in a cooperative or a CLT property. This is available to homeowners purchasing a unit or a share or property in one of these models. But something different than the first iteration of this program is that this track is now also available for CLTs or co-ops that are looking to write down the cost of a unit for a term or perpetuity, depending on the model of that, and use that grant money to do so. So it's structured a little bit differently, essentially like doing purchase price assistance, but over and over again. So there will be an affordability requirement, just like there would have been with a buyer, but for that unit specifically. This is one of the things that we got as feedback on the first pilot, that it would be really wonderful to have that flexibility for cooperatives or CLTs looking to reduce their purchase price to a further affordable unit or an affordable price long term. So this track is available up to $30,000 per household or per unit. Sort of depends on how that's structured. At or below 120% AMI for a buyer and vice versa for a homeowner, if it's like a write down. And this can be used for purchase price assistance or closing costs. And then track 2, if there's a question here and you're off mute, feel free to jump in. Okay. I'll keep going. So the second track is for shared equity acquisition support. So this is to help cooperatives or land trusts acquire units by writing down that purchase price as well. So this iteration of the program allows for up to $150,000 per affordable unit. And 51% of the units in that building, if it's a multi-unit, must be priced and sold at rates that are affordable to 80% AMI or below households. This can be used from the CLT or the cooperative for acquisition costs and the legal costs associated with the purchase. Across both of these tracks, what you'll see is this is largely for infrastructure. So that is the way that these bond proceeds, if folks have questions about why it is that way or why the funds are structured that way, I'm happy to get into it. There's the type of funds that we have are largely for infrastructure. So that is why these both programs support units in that way. It is notable that they unfortunately cannot be used for rehab. That is a common question we get, but unfortunately, that is not something available to either track. The deal or acquisition can include rehab costs, but the funds used for the acquisition are limited in ours to just that acquisition cost. So we can get more kind of in the weeds on that if folks have questions, but just to make that really clear. So in this RFP, we are looking for program administrators, though the clients or the folks who will actually receive funds eventually are slightly different for track 1 and track 2. So what we're doing today is looking for program providers for 1 or 2 grantee contracts. It could be 1 across both. The requirement is that the administrators are nonprofits in good standing with the state. They do not have to be CDFIs, though they can be. And the $5 million in HED bond proceeds will be split across those 2 contracts. We expect that it would be $1 million for track 1 and $4 million for track 2, though that could shift slightly based on the applications that we receive as part of this RFP process. That shakes out to about 25 to 50 purchase price subgrants to folks buying in there or writing down that cost, and 100 to 150 per unit for track 2, which is about 25 to 40 units. Applicants or program providers can apply to 1 or both. You'll see in all the questions in the RFP that I would say most are questions for both 1 and 2. There are some specific track questions for each or the other, depending on the experience requested and kind of describing how a program provider may go about doing that work. So each of these as compensation structure, the way this program is structured is that grantees or program providers may bill for the purchase price assistance grant or acquisition costs, and then a fixed negotiated project delivery fee per unit. So what that means is on every, say, $30,000 purchase price subgrant, there will be a negotiated project delivery fee per unit, say 10% of that subgrant that is payable to the grantee upon completion of that. There's not an admin structure or different way that we will undertake that work. It's just a fee for service on every single closed grant in either track. And the timeline, we released the RFP Friday, November 14th. Hopefully you've had the chance to read that and are coming here today with any questions. Obviously, the pre-bidders conference is today. And then we have a little more than a month for any questions or submission of the applications. So the program RFP closes Wednesday, December 31st. And after that time, DOH will review all applicants, selecting a finalist for each track. Could be the same person or applicant for both, may be different. Contract negotiation both in Q1 of next year, and then the program implementation for the actual clients, whether those are CLTs, cooperatives, or homeowners looking to purchase shares in each of those, will run 26 to 2027. So we expect that the funds will cover both of those years, though if we find that there is significant demand for the program, we will always reevaluate that and work with the grantees selected. I am done with the formal part of this presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see all of you and any questions that were in the chat. Let's see. Mostly just interjections. Hello to all of you. And now I'm going to pause. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to come off mute, raise your hand, drop it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. I am happy. I'm here for you guys. If there's no question, lovely.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Christina.
Hi, Christina.
So for track one,
Mhm.
is the maximum that you could apply for is the 1 million?
No, that's just like
Okay.
what we expect that based on the demand for the program that we had in the first round, that's about the same number of grants. But if you would like to apply for more, please just make sure you include like justification on kind of the demand you're seeing and why you think an additional grant is sort of what you'd like to apply for.
Okay,
We
thank you.
put those bounds in there as like what we expect, but we understand that there might be differences in what folks know based on when they're working in the community, and we want to be responsive to that. But we just didn't want to leave it totally up in the air because that's sort of based on our experience and the feedback we got. This is what we think, but maybe we're missing something. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I see a question in the chat. Is the intent of the city that these resources be dispersed citywide? This program is and has been citywide, though I will say that we have seen certain areas of the city take advantage of the funds slightly differently, but that largely has to be, or that largely has been because that's where the cooperatives and community land trusts that have accessed these funds have been distributed. We absolutely would love this to be citywide. We just know that there's certain places that are more interested in this type of home ownership model or have that existing home type. Like there's certain places of the city that have cooperatives where folks applied and others that don't have as many cooperatives, for example. And we are, whoever our program administrator is, we do expect that they are able to work citywide. So in terms of who like sub-grantees that come to us, that could be anywhere. And we expect that the whoever applies to track one and track two be prepared to service anyone citywide. If someone has a specific community focus, lovely, but we do want to ensure that that program administrator is able to either have partners or access whatever they need to do to service the whole city. Let me know if that didn't answer your question, Gerardo. And Danielle Matthews, yes, I would be happy to review the fee for service or project delivery fee. So the way that this structure will be for both track one and track two is that we will negotiate with our program administrator a set fee. This fee likely will range between 5 to 15%, depending on what your organization determines is the need for kind of all of the combined things that you will do to deliver this program. So because these are bond proceeds, it means that there's no like administrative fee across the board. So like to deliver each grant, we acknowledge and understand that there is work that you guys will undertake to do that. So for each grant that is closed, whether it's to a CLT, cooperative, or a buyer in one of those units, there will be a fixed fee given to that administrator, that nonprofit for doing that work. So say it's 10% for every down payment assistance, 10% of that grant will be given to that administrator. It could be also a fee per, it could be a percentage or it could be a fee, like a set rate across each of them, depending on the way you choose to kind of undertake those grants. For clarity, is this program also for a first-time homebuyer or financial housing counseling? Nope, this is only for, this is not a home buyer counseling program. This is grants for purchase price in one track and grants for acquisition support in the other track. Home buyers themselves may need to undertake that home buyer training as part of that purchase, just like we do with any of our down payment assistance, because we want folks to really understand what they're purchasing, whether it's a cooperative or a unit in a CLT, but that is the same with any type of down payment assistance or purchase price assistance through the city. But that would be more on the sub-grantee side that we would ask the program administrator to make sure that their buyers are fully prepared for that next step of homeownership, whatever type of unit they want to take advantage of. Any other questions or feedback? I'm not seeing any, but I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to,
Sorry, quick
oh
question.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, are you, so I know we do employer assisted housing, and we're required to have secondary financing. Is that a requirement for this program?
You mean as like a program administrator or for like a certain sub-grantee?
I would say it as administrator, yeah.
So we just expect that our administrators are experienced in giving out this type of grant. We want to see in your application that you understand what it's like to administer down payment assistance if that's something you want to do, but there's no requirement for other type of financing or that you're a CDFI to administer either track.
Got
So
it. Okay.
you could, but we want to make sure whoever kind of runs this program is prepared to take on what that means.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So if anyone else has questions, feel free to hop off, mute and jump in. I'm going to drop two things in the chat. One is the actual RFP. If you are accessing this, you probably saw it, but that is where it is for download. That's where this recording will be posted after. And any questions that anyone who is not here today and emails me, I will also continue to post them there so that everyone has access to that. I'm going to put my email in the chat as well, cityofchicago.org. If you, every once in a while, it causes an issue with the apostrophe, so you can do, will attendees be posted as well? The recording likely shows who is attending unless you would prefer it not to. We don't typically just post a list of attendees. We just post the recording. So yeah, reach out if you have a concern with that or you don't want that. But typically we just do the recording. I will hang out for another minute or so if anyone has a specific question. Otherwise, I will give you the rest of your morning. Oh, and the slide deck is also posted. Yes, we'll post. Thank you, Jackie. Yes, we'll put the slide deck will be posted, the recording, and any questions that I receive between now and December 31st, we will just keep that updated. If people have clarifying questions, they'll all be on the RFP website. The RFP responses can just be emailed back in a PDF format. It's not through Submittable or any other like iSupply or anything like that. By the 31st. So that should be straightforward. There shouldn't be issues with that. But if you have questions, please do reach out. Thank you all for coming this morning, and I appreciate the time.